Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Kezia Sadtiyas Maharany with the student ID 084. I want to present about my analysis of the introduction section in the article research that I have read. The, the title of the article research is Anxiety in Speaking, What Factors and How to Overcome. The writers are Ramli Fitriawati and Angelina Nirmala. So I want to explain the structure of the introduction section. The first is the hook. It is to grab the attention of the readers. In the introduction section, in the first sentence, it is refers to the hook. I highlighted with the purple color. It says the accelerating globalization and digitalization in the 21st century have been changing the way we live, interact, and learn and work. This sentence grabs the reader's attention by referring to a relevant, modern, and global phenomenon, globalization and digitalization, that most readers, I think, can relate to. And the next is the background information. I highlight the sentences with the pink color. The background section is to explain the topic. And the sentences that refers to the background are one fundamental skill that is demanded to master is communication. Validated 2020 English as an international communication language plays an important and crucial role. In education, students can build collaboration through effective communication. Rampang and Ramli 2018. Speaking is the process of communicating with others through the use of words. People all around the world provide information and let others know what the speaker is talking about by speaking. These sentences introduce the topic of speaking in English, its importance in communication and education, and why it's necessary in the 21st century. And the next is the problem statement. I highlight the sentences with the yellow color. The problem statement is to show the issue. So in this introduction session, it says, however, Liam and Ahmadi 2017 stated that it is a challenging skill that language learners must master. Many students find it challenging to convey themselves or their ideas in spoken language. In light of this, it's critical to look into the issue of difficulties in speaking English. Anxiety is one of the main contributing causes to this situation. However, there are many others. These lines state that core issue students struggle with speaking in English, particularly due to anxiety and other difficulties like limited vocabulary, pronunciation, and lack of confidence. And the next is purpose of the study. It is to tell the goal of the research, the article research. I highlighted with the blue color. It says this research aims to discover what factors of anxiety English students experience and what strategies they use to overcome the anxiety. This clearly shows the goal of the study, which is to explore the factors causing speaking anxiety and the strategies students use to overcome it. And the scope or focus I highlighted with the green color. It says, in light of the foregoing, the researchers were interested In learning more about the factors that generate English speaking anxiety in class. This sentence narrows the focus of the study to the classroom context and specifically English speaking anxiety among students. And the next is the grammar used in the introduction section. So in the introduction, the main tense used in the introduction is the present tense. The writer using the present tense because the writers are talking about the current situation, what is happening now with students learning English and their struggles with speaking. The examples of present tense in the introduction section are first, English as an international communication language plays an important and crucial role. Next is the speaking ability plays a significant influence in communication. And the last is students feel anxious when they want to speak. They use past tense when talking about other researchers' findings from earlier studies. So, in the introduction, the writers not only use the present tense but also past tense to talking about the findings from past studies. For example, Betty and Nachiha 2021 stated that, and also the researchers observed many instances and I think the tenses are mostly correct, but I think there is like a small thing that maybe can be improved. For example, like for repetition, I think too many repetition in verb in one paragraph. Like for example, speaking in front of the class appears many times. Maybe the writers can write like giving a speech or answering in class uh, and speaking publicly to avoid the repetition. Okay, so I think the grammar is mostly correct, especially the use of present and past tense. Present tense is used for general ideas and current problems. Past tense is used for research findings from past studies. There are no big mistakes, but only a small part, like a verb repetition, can be improved to sound more natural. Overall, I think it is a good introduction because the introduction has clear topic. It clearly talks about the importance of speaking in English, especially in education. Explains the problem. The introduction explains the students feel anxious and struggle to speak English, especially in class. Because like the students afraid of making mistakes in vocabulary, grammar, and a fear of judgment, something like that. And the introduction also gives background. It shows why communication and speaking skills are important in today's world. It also supports with sources. The introduction uses many references from previous studies, for example, Rao Leong and Ahmadi, Atwas, and etc. The the introduction states the purpose. It ends by telling the aim of the research to find out what causes anxiety and how students overcome it. And this is the suggest for improvement. In the introduction section, there are no research gap statement. I think the writer can add the research gap or the next study because introduction often include the research gap statement. For example, like although many studies have focused on speaking skills, few have explored the personal experiences of anxiety and how students overcome them. So this type of sentence is called a research gap. It tells the reader what is missing in other studies and why this article or paper is important or new. So maybe for the next study, for the suggestion, maybe you can add one sentence or like one paragraph, I think, to show why this research is different from past studies. And the second is some ideas are repeated too many times. For example, like I've explained before, speaking in front of the class is used a lot. Maybe can remove repeated phrases or combine similar sentences to make it shorter and clearer. For example, like instead of saying the same idea 3 until 4 times about students afraid to speak, maybe we can like summarize it once or twice with stronger words. And the next is unclear sentence structure in some parts. Some sentences are a bit confusing. For example, like some students believe that they do not make mistakes in front of their friends or their teachers. This sentence is hard to understand. Like, do the students think they don't make mistakes or are they afraid of making them? Maybe for the next studies can write like this for the better version. Like some students are afraid of making mistakes when speaking in front of others, especially their friends or teachers. And I think the introduction is a stronger hook. It is a good hook actually, but the first sentence talks about globalization and digitalization. It's fine, but not very attention grabbing, I think. And for the suggestion, maybe can start with a strong quote, a short real story, or an interesting fact about speaking anxiety to make readers more curious. And the next is no clear research question or hypothesis. A strong research introduction usually end can end with either a research question, a hypothesis, or clearer breakdown of the study purpose. Maybe after the purpose sentence, the writers could add, this study aims to answer the following questions. What are the causes of English speaking anxiety among students? And what strategies do they use to overcome it? And the key features evaluation. I think for the clarity of the introduction is mostly clear. It explains the topic well, which is about the importance of speaking skills in English and the problem of students feeling anxious when speaking in front of the class. However, some sentences are confusing or hard to understand, like what I've explained before. Some students believe that they do not make mistakes in front of their friends or their teachers. This sentence is not very clear. It's hard to know if the students think they don't make mistakes or if they are just afraid of making mistakes. So the overall clarity is okay, but a few sentences needs to be easier to understand. And the conciseness, the introduction repeats the same ideas. For example, the idea that students feel nervous or afraid to speak in front of the class is mentioned many times in different ways. Instead of repeating, the writer can combine ideas and use simpler sentences. This would make the writing more effective and easier to follow. So I think the writing is not concise. It should be like more direct. The and the next is for the engagement. The beginning of the introduction is not very engaging. Uh, I think it starts with general ideas about globalization and communication, which are correct, but not interesting enough to make the reader want to keep reading. A better way to start might be with like real example, like a short story, a question, or surprising fact about uh, anxiety or fear of public speaking, English public speaking. This would make the introduction more powerful and attractive. So the engagement is, I think it's quite weak and can be improved with a stronger opening. And for the relevance, everything in the introduction is actually relevant. The writer talks about the main topic, speaking anxiety in English learning, the background, the problem, the goal of the study, and the support from the researchers all relate from the past studies of the researchers, all relate to the same topic. So the relevant, I think it's very good. All the content supports the purpose of the study. So for the conclusion, the introduction is quite good because it explains the topic clearly and gives many examples from other studies. It shows that speaking anxiety is a serious problem, but it sometimes repeats some ideas in the introduction. Maybe some sentences are confusing and need to be written more clearly. Also, the beginning could be more interesting to catch the reader's attention. I think with a few changes, it can be become a strong and professional introduction for the next studies. So that's all for me. Thank you for listening. I'm sorry if I make some mistakes. Thank you.